The black boy comes to clean a rich family's house with his mother for the first time. As soon as he enters, he is deeply attracted by delicious pastries he has never seen before. Taking advantage of his mother stepping out, he quickly grabs a piece and takes a bite. But before he can savor it, several rich kids walk in with muddy feet. Hearing them discuss his favorite sport, football, Pelé can't help but say he likes it too. But the rich kids not only think he has no right to talk football with them, they also kick him to the ground. Hearing the noise, his mother rushes over, instinctively pulls Pelé aside, and repeatedly apologizes to the rich kids. Seeing the mother and son so humble and sincere, the rich kids finally let it go and don't press the matter. At this moment, they could never imagine that the boy they mocked will become the world's greatest football legend in 8 years. After finishing the work at the rich family's house, Pelé hurries to the street to shine shoes for money. Born in a Brazilian slum and burdened by extreme poverty, he took on the heavy responsibilities of life from a young age. His only entertainment in his free time is playing football. With no money to buy a real ball, he and his friend stuff collected socks into a sphere, freely showing off the unique Brazilian ginga style in the muddy streets and alleys. However, his mother strongly opposes Pelé playing football, worrying he might follow in his father's footsteps. Because his father was once an excellent professional player in his youth, but was accidentally injured by an opponent during a match, then ruthlessly abandoned by his team, and is now reduced to a toilet cleaner. Despite this, his father's passion for football remains undiminished. This time, he is paying very close attention to the 1950 World Cup in Brazil. As the host, the Brazilian team was invincible on the field at first, with such immense momentum that everyone believed the championship was theirs. However, on the day of the final, they lost to Uruguay by a single goal. The team's defeat plunged the whole nation of Brazil into grief and despair. To comfort his weeping father, young Pelé promised him that he would definitely win the World Cup for Brazil. But his father only took it as a joke and didn't take his words to heart. One day, a local youth football tournament is being held in town, and an excited Pelé immediately forms a team with his friends. With no uniforms for the tournament, they make them out of bedsheets. With no cleats, they step onto the field barefoot. But the whole process doesn't go as smoothly as imagined. Since they are used to kicking heavy sock balls, when the football is passed to Pelé, he kicks it flying way off target. The other friends also find it equally hard to adapt. Some players try to chest the ball, only to get hit so hard they can barely breathe. Fortunately, this group of kids has an extremely strong ability to adapt. It doesn't take long for them to completely master the physics of the football, and coupled with the exquisite skills they practice daily, even barefoot, they consistently score against tight defense. In the end, they overcome all obstacles and advance to the finals. What they don't expect, however, is that their opponents in the final are exactly those arrogant rich kids. Because the other side mocks them as the barefoot squad, everyone decides to get some decent cleats. Since they have no money, they eye the peanuts on a cargo truck and quietly steal a few bags when the workers aren't looking. However, while selling them on the street, they bump into those rich kids again. They not only mock the boy with glasses by calling him Four Eyes, but also insult Pelé's mother as a floor-scrubbing servant. Unable to endure it anymore, Pelé throws a punch straight away, and then the two sides get into a brawl. After returning home with a bruised and swollen face, afraid to let his mother know about the fight with the rich kids, he lies and says a school teacher hit him. Hearing this, his mother is instantly furious and decides to go to the school tomorrow to settle the score with the teacher. These words terrify Pelé, who is already lying. Fortunately, at the critical moment, his father steps in to bail him out, allowing Pelé to narrowly escape disaster. It turns out his father saw Pelé fighting earlier. He knows Pelé's nature well, so he didn't stop it. He teaches Pelé not to be afraid of taking responsibility. Only by bravely being yourself can you achieve success. His father's teachings deeply benefit the naive Pelé. When they play again, Pelé and his friends buy several pairs of second-hand cleats with the money earned from selling peanuts. But these oversized shoes don't fit them at all. Not long after the match begins, they are completely crushed in every way by the well-equipped regular team. Just when they can barely hold on, Pelé accidentally spots his father in the crowd. On the surface, his father stops him from pursuing football, but behind his back, he has always been silently supporting him. In order not to let his father down, he takes off the shoes that are ruining his performance and closes his eyes to adjust his mindset. When he opens them again, it is as if he is back to the familiar street football, and the ball seems to come alive, bouncing nimbly on his toes. His stylish moves draw bursts of amazement from the audience. Then he single-handedly breaks through the opponent's entire defensive line. His teammates also follow Pelé's lead to take off their shoes, playing barefoot to fully unleash their superb skills. Their spectacular performance instantly ignites the whole stadium. Under the barefoot squad's tacit cooperation, the rich kids team completely loses possession of the ball. Before long, the barefoot squad narrows the score to 6-5. However, As the final whistle blows, they still lose the match by a single goal. Just as Pelé hangs his head in dismay, thunderous applause erupts from the audience. Everyone starts chanting Pelé's name. Although he doesn't win the game, he wins everyone's trust and love. Not only that, he also wins the favor of a scout. The scout hands his father a business card, wanting to invite Pelé to join professional team training. However, before Pelé's dream can set sail, the workers from the peanut factory show up at their door first. Terrified, Pelé and the others flee in panic, unexpectedly getting caught in a sudden downpour. The boy with glasses unfortunately sprains his ankle while fleeing, and Pelé quickly helps him into a cave to rest. They thought they could escape disaster here, but the continuous heavy rain causes the cave to collapse. Fortunately, Pelé reacts quickly and narrowly escapes, but his friend is tragically buried underneath. By the time the factory workers dig away the dirt, he has completely stopped breathing. His friend's tragic death fills Pelé's heart with remorse, and he blames himself for everything. Looking at the sobbing Pelé, his mother not only doesn't blame him, but gently pulls him into her embrace. Crying, he promises his mother that he will study hard and never touch a football again. Thinking of the lost child, his father also shoves the scout's business card into a drawer. From then on, Pelé seems like a different person, truly becoming the good boy his parents expect. Every day after school, he takes the initiative to help his father clean toilets. But the smile that once hung on his face vanishes, replaced by a silence unfit for his age. To help Pelé step out of the shadows of the past, his father tells him, under the mango tree in front of their house, that his family also had a mango tree when he was young. Because they had no money for a ball, he figured out a way to practice with mangoes. After saying this, his father plucks one from the tree and demonstrates on the spot. Even after so many years, his father's juggling skills remain pure perfection. When the juggling ends, the ripe mango actually doesn't have a single scratch. Seeing this, a slight smile unconsciously creeps onto Pelé's lips. But when his father hands him the mango, his eyes dim once again. Clearly, he has never been able to move past that guilt. One day, his father tries to kick a mango into a distant trash can, but misses several shots in a row. So Pelé can't hold back anymore and scores a direct hit. When his father sees the slightly smug look on Pelé's face, he instantly realizes he is being underestimated by him. So he kicks a mango hard straight into a trash can even further away. Now it is Pelé's turn to be dumbfounded, it seems. Experience really does matter, and this little contest acts like a key, unlocking the tightly shut doors in Pelé's heart. From then on, he practices juggling with his father under the mango tree every day. At first, Pelé can never control his power, smashing the mangoes to pieces every time. However, with day after day of practice, he kicks better and better. 6 years pass in a flash, and when his mother sees Pelé looking so vibrant and confident, she finally understands that football has long become an indispensable part of his life. So she calls the scout and lets Pelé join Santos FC. Before he leaves, his parents advance 3 months of their salary to specially buy Pelé some new clothes. Then, carrying the hopes of his entire family, Pelé embarks on his journey to pursue his dream. However, on his first day of training, Pelé's Ginga style is used by the coach as a negative example. He considers it a cheap, rural trick. The coach even deliberately plays him the footage of the 1950 World Cup. In the video, Brazilian players dribble and pass with flashy skills just like Pelé, yet they can never break through the opponent's defense. He believes this is exactly why Brazil has failed to win the championship to this day. Pelé finally understands the coach's intention and starts learning the advanced European style of play. But no matter how hard he tries, he just can't master it, feeling as awkward as a left-hander forced to eat with his right hand. Over time, he becomes the worst player on the team. Pelé knows deeply that he carries the hopes of his whole family, so after every training session, he stays behind to practice shooting late into the night. But after several months in a row, there is still not the slightest improvement. Under the massive blow, completely unable to see any hope, he quietly packs his bags and leaves, while everyone is asleep. Fortunately, the scout discovers this in time and chases after him. He doesn't understand why Pelé gave up so quickly. Pelé has no choice but to pour out his inner frustration. The coach here doesn't like his style, and he can't learn the advanced European way. If he doesn't go home now to study hard, he will only end up sweeping toilets for the rest of his life, just like his father. To make him stay, the scout explains the reasons behind all this to him. In fact, Ginga was originally the Brazilians' unique way of playing football. It wasn't until the Brazilian team lost the 1950 World Cup that the public, with nowhere to vent their anger, treated Ginga as the main culprit. Since then, Ginga was no longer praised by the public, which is why the coach opposes you using it. Then the scout encourages him to believe in his own choice and fight bravely one more time. The scout's words deeply touch Pelé's heart. When he returns to the team, he no longer deliberately caters to the coach's demands, but chooses to be his true self again. At this moment, the football in his eyes is just like a mango, and every move is as fluid as when he played on the streets. Although the coach anxiously screams for him to pass from the sidelines, Pelé ignores him. He first shakes off the defense with a Marseille turn, then quickly stops and flicks the ball up amidst the encirclement of 4 opponents. Under people's incredulous gazes, he directly kicks the ball into the goal. Finally, his masterful skills win the coach's approval. After that, relying on his unique Ginga style, he gets promoted all the way from the junior team to the youth team. But success does not make him arrogant or complacent. In the dead of night, he still works hard as usual to practice that awkward European style, because he knows perfectly well that only by making up for his shortcomings can he go further on this football journey. Time rewards the dedicated later on. With even more dazzling performances, Pelé successfully advances to the professional team at just 15 years old. What is even more shocking is yet to come. Joining the team for only half a season, he has already climbed to the top of the team's scorer list. In just one short year, he uses his team signing bonus to buy his mother the most advanced gas stove in the whole village, and his father the newest radio. His younger brother suggests using it to listen to the list of candidates selected for the Brazilian national team next week. However, Pelé is only 16 right now, and he holds no hope for getting into the national team. But when the day comes, the family still sits quietly around the radio, listening. When the radio announces that Pelé has made the national team as a reserve player, his father gets so excited he jumps straight up. Pelé is even more thrilled, almost unable to catch his breath. This means he is going to represent his country at the 1958 World Cup, standing on the highest stage of world football. Before he leaves, Pelé's father gives him a jersey with the word Pelé sewn on it and urges him to always believe in himself, drawing from his own life experiences. After a warm embrace, Pelé sets off on his World Cup journey. But when he arrives at the national team camp full of confidence, he unexpectedly runs into the rich kid who used to bully him as a child. To his surprise, the bully is already a starting player, while Pelé is only his substitute. This rich kid has always idolized the European style of play, even changing his name to that of the legendary Italian forward Mazzola. At the press conference, the coach publicly declares that he will never adopt the Ginga style. During subsequent training sessions, the coach strictly forbids Pelé from playing Ginga, forcing him to struggle through the awkward European style. For Pelé, this is like starting from scratch. On the pitch, he is often lost, running around like a headless chicken. Soon, the day to select the starting lineup arrives. At first, Pelé plays decently. However, this nature-suppressing style leads to frequent mistakes. No matter how he tries to adjust, he cannot find his rhythm. But when the ball comes to his feet again, he recalls his father's past. Determined not to repeat his father's mistakes, he immediately unleashes his familiar Ginga style. Distracted by the coach's angry shouts from the sidelines, Pelé loses focus and falls awkwardly from midair, severely injuring his knee. Although it will not leave him disabled, a full recovery will take at least a month. In the blink of an eye, the tournament reaches the knockout stage of the World Cup in Sweden. 16 of the world's top teams gather to compete in a life-and-death battle. Pelé travels with the team, but since his knee has just healed, he can only watch the matches on TV from the locker room. During the group stage, though Brazil advances to the quarterfinals, it comes at a heavy cost. 3 of their key players, including Mazzola, are injured and unable to play. With time running out, the coach has no choice but to field 3 substitutes. Hearing that Pelé is about to play, his father watches the TV in sheer excitement. But the crowd is full of doubt and criticism, making Pelé incredibly nervous. As the whistle blows, the battle between Brazil and the Soviet Union begins. Right from the start, the physically dominant Soviets leave Pelé dizzy, and his father watches anxiously from his TV screen. Fortunately, his teammates perform brilliantly, securing a narrow 1-goal victory to advance to the semifinals against France. Although Pelé's knee is now fully healed, he still struggles to find his rhythm. In the semifinal, he repeatedly loses possession and even allows France to score first. At halftime, as Pelé hangs his head in dejection, the rich kid Mazzola uncharacteristically encourages him to pull himself together. He tells Pelé that since he was once unstoppable on the pitch, he can surely do it again. These words resolve Pelé's hesitation. Stepping back onto the field, he decisively unleashes the Ginga style. First, he pulls off a beautiful chest control, scans the defense, and coordinates with his teammates to charge into the box. The crowd holds its breath as Pelé scores with a perfect volley, instantly igniting the Brazilian fans and restoring the team's confidence. However, the arrogant European spectators continue to boo, dismissing it as mere luck. Pelé's subsequent burst of brilliance soon drives the opponents to despair. Using the same trick, he drives the ball into the French net once again. The stadium erupts, and the cheers of the Brazilian fans are deafening. No one doubts the young Brazilian's talent anymore. Pelé successfully leads Brazil to the finals. But next, they face Sweden, known as the Giants of Northern Europe. Whether in tactics or physical strength, Brazil is at a disadvantage. Even with only 4 days left before the final, the coach stubbornly insists on the European style, turning their training into a waste of time. At the pre-match press conference, the Swedish coach publicly insults the Brazilian team, calling them emotional performers with no real skills. This comment completely outrages the Brazilian players, and even their coach storms out in anger. Seeing this on television, Pelé's father immediately calls him, urging him not to be blinded by Sweden's provocation. He tells Pelé to follow his heart, believe in himself, trust the team, and above all, trust their proud Ginga style. This encouragement helps Pelé regain his confidence. However, when he goes to the dining hall, he finds his teammates looking utterly dejected. To lift their spirits, he proposes a game to keep the ball in the air all the way to a distant lighthouse without letting it touch the ground. At first, no one has the energy to join, but to everyone's surprise, Mazzola steps up. Inspired by his lead, the others join in one by one. The Ginga style is, after all, a childhood favorite game for Brazilians, and every player can show off a few tricks. Soon, they pass the ball all the way to the kitchen. In the process, they forget the pressure of the tournament and the doubts of the outside world, immersing themselves completely in the joy of juggling. As their chemistry grows, 2 consecutive powerful long passes launch the ball like a cannonball right out of the hotel. With the lighthouse in sight, Pelé leaps excitedly to catch the ball, but falls just short as the ball drops into the water. Although they miss their goal, they feel a genuine sense of joy. The coach, sitting by the window, witnesses everything and suddenly realizes his mistake. At the pre-match meeting the next day, he casts aside his stubbornness, addresses the team with a completely new attitude, and encourages them to abandon the European style and play Ginga to their heart's content. The next day, the final takes place as scheduled before a crowd of over 50,000 spectators, with fans worldwide gathered around their TVs to watch a legendary match destined for the history books. Even the King of Sweden is in attendance. Before taking the field, Pelé puts on the jersey his father hand-sewed for him, determined to bring glory to it. But right as the match begins, Pelé is subjected to a malicious tackle. Despite such a blatant foul, the referee turns a blind eye, leaving the team to swallow their anger and press on. However, against the towering Swedish players, their passes are repeatedly intercepted. Even more infuriatingly, whenever Pelé receives the ball, at least 2 or 3 opponents swarm him, even resorting to rough fouls to slam him to the ground. Meanwhile, the other Swedish players seize the opportunity to launch a powerful counterattack, successfully putting the ball into the Brazilian net. Everyone fears Brazil will repeat their tragedy from 8 years ago, and a sense of despair begins to shroud the entire team, while the Brazilian fans in the stands look utterly dejected. In this moment, Pelé recalls his father's teachings. He strengthens his resolve, summons his courage, and knows it is time to prove the Ginga style to the world. As play resumes, he decisively unleashes his signature rainbow flick, slipping past swarming defenders with agile footwork. His breathtaking skill brings the Brazilian fans to their feet. Just like in the match against France, Pelé passes the ball to a teammate to break through while he waits near the box. But just when everyone expects him to strike, he fakes the shot, allowing the left winger to easily slot the ball into the net. This goal not only equalizes the score, but also restores the team's belief. After the restart, the Swedish coach immediately orders his defenders to push high up the field, attempting a lethal strike. However, they fumble at the crucial moment, and possession shifts back to Pelé. Despite being heavily marked, Pelé coordinates with his teammates, whose seamless cooperation allows them to slot the ball into the net once again. This leaves the Swedish players stunned and the audience in disbelief. This unconventional style, once sneered at by European football, is utterly overwhelming the Swedish team. Then comes the moment. A legend is born. Brazil scores again with their magical, unpredictable footwork. The Swedish coach stands dumbfounded, and even the arrogant European fans watch in awe. They never imagined football could be played with such fluid grace. The entire stadium turns into their grand stage, and every Brazilian player is lost in the joy of the game. In front of the TV, Pelé's father is already moved to tears, for this is the soul of Brazilian football he has always longed to see. Back on the pitch, Pelé continues to dance with the ball, weaving through the defense to score yet another goal for Brazil. This strike virtually seals the victory. Back home, all of Brazil erupts in celebration, and even the King of Sweden cannot help but applaud the magnificent display. Riding their momentum, Brazil ruthlessly secures a 4th goal. With only 1 minute remaining, the intense match finally takes its toll, and an exhausted Pelé collapses onto the grass. His teammates rush over to check on him. Seeing he is unhurt, they lift him high onto their shoulders, chanting his name. Back in his hometown, Pelé's parents embrace tearfully amidst the cheering crowd. From this moment on, the name Pelé echoes across the footballing world, marking the birth of a true king of football.